All right, you're listening to the final post of the field report, third watch update. We followed a lot of the topics on mainstream news and trending news, and I've officially phased it out because the direction and where we're going with other topics or other stories or things like that haven't really gone where I thought it would go, and we haven't had a whole lot of just financially can't do it. It's a lot of energy that I invested into it, and I hope at some point maybe it'll produce results, but maybe it won't. That's not why I did it. That's not why a lot of people put out stuff. They do it looking for a second career. There's just been so much opposition on how to make this into a real career that actually it's been a miserable experience. Social media has been a miserable experience in some cases. So I'm turned off. Actually, I've been turned off by this for a while. So this is not like new news to you. I've been trying to phase it off because I'm completely turned off about some things about how social media has been conducted, how they're forcing people to do a lot of things that just, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this anymore. I'm not comfortable with putting information out and not getting a whole lot of reaction or response. I see a lot of people that do, and I don't, and that's okay. But I'm not comfortable where I've been with this for a long time, and I don't see it's not that there's not possibilities. It's just not for me right now, and it's okay because I like what we've been able to accomplish. We've connected with people. I've got to know a lot of people on social pages, and that's been a wonderful experience, but I'm altogether not sure why it is we even did what we did, because I thought what I was learning from most people out there is the same thing that I've been learning over and over again, and there's a lot of things I can't get around, like how to financially afford it. Now, if there's a way to do that, then I haven't to be the first one to put it together, but I just see that some people have a large subscribers and we don't, and that's okay. But I'm not going to put all this time and money into it and then throw away opportunities. I look at this as it's been an opportunity because it's built upon other things, like being able to produce a radio show and be able to accomplish that. But everything has an expiration date, and I've come through that, and I've come to that realization that I'll take it a different direction. It doesn't have to be social pages. It doesn't have to be any of those things. But I had to say no more to it because I want to retire from it. I've put a lot of work and time into a lot of this stuff, and I really hope that whatever we've been able to produce, that people like what we did, and if there's a point to where, it offers opportunity, I've burned that bridge too many times where I'd say I'm going to do something and it doesn't happen. So instead of doing that, we just putting everything on the shelf and shelving these ideas, and it's not as if we can't ever pick it up. It's just not at this time. It's just a lot of controversy with fake news, mainstream news. I don't want to get caught up in the back and forth with it because, for obvious reasons, I'm not even really in all that. I used to be. I tried to get into that, but just like any group, there's cliques, and there's a lot of cliquey people. And a lot of cliquey people will only let certain people in and certain people out, and that's okay. But, they probably have it that way for a reason, and that's okay. But I'm not looking to be in a clique, or that's not my deal. That's why we're independent, and that's I'd like to keep it like that. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus because, they have their groups and they trust in those networks. But this is why too many people get away from what's important, and I value those things. It goes back to what I believe in 2003. It means just as much to me as the day I started following topics like this. But to me, there's an end point, and there's like, okay, I revived this, and it worked for a while, and we're ready to go to the next step. That doesn't mean we have closed off any options or anything, but I don't have to do these reports. I don't have to do any of these things. I did it because I wanted to. I didn't cash in on anything. We've given tirelessly, and I'm glad that we did that. We don't do it with the agenda. We did it because we wanted to. Number one, we did it because we love the people we work with, and we generally like the topics. But even that has an expiration date, and it's okay to retire. I took this road down. I've been down this road a couple years. I've been like, okay, back and forth. Not that I can't do a blog post from here and there or talk about things or do, something podcast, but not what we've been doing. It's just not working. And I know that. I'm well aware of that, and that's okay. We don't get a lot of responses, but it doesn't mean it's because we're losers. It just means that we have to go about it differently, maybe marketing and things like that. And I'm just not sure that's really where I wanted to go. I'm glad we're a small operation. That's the whole point. We don't ever want to get too big and then let it get to our head or things like that, because sometimes that can happen. A lot of people get this attitude because you've made it or you've got there or you arrived, that you get ahead about it, but thank God we don't. We've been humbled, okay? I'm very humbled when I say I sometimes wish I could take back some of the dumb things I did on social media. I'm embarrassed because, initially I care about my family and friends, and a lot of them want me to move on with other things, and they're right. I have to look at that. And generally speaking, this is not where I wanted to go, but I ended up in good places. I never ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Relatively speaking, I met some great people, and I hope we continue those relationships, or maybe do it in another capacity, but this isn't for me. I'm very good at communicating, but I have to become, as well, a better listener. And I'm going to learn from some of the better people out there that know how to do this, over time. But at the rate it was going, it wasn't what I wanted. It's not how I want to go about approaching topics. I look at a lot of the stuff on the current events, and overall, I look at, there's so many different people on different sides of these issues, and I know where I stand because I know where I was and I know where I am and where we're going, and it's definitely distancing ourselves from these really controversial topics. I have to. And, it's like, I know I don't have to invest any more time. I'm 46 years old. I don't only have so much, in my, I guess, energy, the level of energy you have to keep up. And I can't for health reasons. So it's obvious that there are people that can, and I respect what they're doing. I respect that people are trying to approach everything maturely, but for obvious reasons, it just wasn't going that way for a couple years. It didn't have to be something controversial that caused it. I just realized that I have to say, okay, that's it. So as of tonight, this is it. I knew at one point or another it was just going to be the end for me, and starting somewhere new at this point. Whether we do blog, podcast, if ever we do anything, it's just going to be a natural response. It doesn't have to be this structured environment that I tried to make this. And it just doesn't work that way in the internet. Everything's kind of just like raw. And I've been watching a lot of video and audio, and I noticed that that's really what it is. You just go out and show up. And that's how it should be, okay? But as for, everything else I've invested, I'm not throwing away investment. It just, we're shelving these ideas because it's a good for a time. Everything has a season. And like I said, even things have an expiration date. And even while things are good, it's good to end it on the right note. And I love photography. I love all those things. But the time I've invested in it and the energy you put into it, sometimes, like everybody says, this is one of the hardest businesses to work in. It's competitive. It's difficult. There's a lot of people that are, they want to ruin people in the process. And that's never been why we went into this. We always look at, it's good to know the facts and truth, but it's also wise to cut out and think of the other things that matter. And friends and family and relationships do matter. And I don't know, your career becomes one thing, and your relationships with your friends and family is another. And you can juggle that for a while, but after a while, like everybody else, it's like it's time to, take a different road or take a different approach. I knew it was time to do it. At least the last 2.5 years, I've been waiting to say, okay, I can say so long to this. 10 years at the field report, incredible. I never thought I could make it through 7 years. So I think about this, and I think about where I'm headed. If anything, I can look at this and I say, okay, we got through that 10 years and we accomplished a lot. And I am so happy. Well, I would like to continue the court of public opinion, though. That's something totally different. Everything else is gone, shelved, unless something is revived or some way to financially afford to do the rest. But everything else, Facebook page is gone. Everything done. It's over. Lights out. We are off air. Thank you for listening to the Field Report.